So in my last video I showed you how to shoot fireballs the easy way. In this video I'm going to show you how to shoot fireballs in the more complicated but cooler and better way. First I need to explain what we're going to do. The fireball's motion is stored as NBT data, as this tag here, so we want to change that data to make it shoot in the direction that we're facing. The best way to do this is to import these values from a scoreboard. The only problem then is where we're going to get the values for the scores. We can solve this by using position NBT data of an entity at the coordinates 0, 0, 0. Let me show you what I mean. So here we are at the 0, 0, 0 coordinates of this world. If I summon an armor stand, and then we look at its data, so /data get entity, then you'll see that the position data is quite similar to the motion data. So you'll see it's three different numbers. These ones are representing coordinates, and these ones are representing vectors. If we use this command to teleport the armor stand relative to where I'm facing, you can see, if I check the data again, that the position values change. And if we can change these values, we can store them on a scoreboard and then import them into the motion data for the fireball. So the steps we need to take in order to make it go from, actually you can see it there in the way that I've got it set up now, you can see that the armor stand is being summoned and then disappearing. So the steps we need to do are, number one, spawn an armor stand 1 block away from 0, 0, 0 in the direction that I'm facing. Then we need to spawn the fireball. Then we need to store the armor stand's position data as the scores on the scoreboards for the fireball. Then after we've stored the scores, we can kill the armor stand because we don't need it anymore. And then the last one is to transfer the scores from the scoreboard onto the fireball's motion data. Let's get started. So we need 4 repeating command blocks. So we'll make a quick little tower here and put one down here. And then on top of this repeating command block, we need 5 other ones. That's 4. But we also need one more to reset the trigger score, because once again I'm using a carrot on a stick, and we need to make it so that it resets the carrot on a stick score every time we use it. So since I'm using the carrot on a stick trigger, the selector that we're going to be using is at a scores carrot equals 1. So if I do execute as at a, and then put square brackets and scores equals curly brackets carrot equals 1. So this is the scoreboard I have set up for the carrot trigger. Obviously this would vary depending on what kind of trigger you're using. And then we want to get the rotation of the player. So rotated as at S, and then positioned, of course, at 0, 0, 0. Now, because of how the coordinates work, we have to align it as well. So we need to align it in all 3 coordinates, and then we need to run the summon command for the armor stand. So armor stand. And of course we're using carrots for the relative facing, and put 1, so there's 1 block in front of where the player would be facing if they were stood at those coordinates. And then we have to add some extra data, which I'm just going to copy paste because I'm lazy. So it's invulnerable, so nothing can kill it, not that anything would kill it, but just in case. No gravity, so it doesn't fall, and we're going to add a tag just to reduce the confusion for the system, so that it always knows which armor stand to target. Next, we're going to summon the fireball. So we're running execute at, and then of course our selector again. So at a scores equals carrot equals 1, and we're going to run summon. Oh god, I can't type. Summon Minecraft Fireball. And then it's obviously the squiggly lines for the relative position of the player. And we want to do it 1.5 blocks above the player's feet, so it's roughly at the player's face. And then we're going to add a tag. So squiggly brackets, tags, colon, open a list, and add the tag fireball. Obviously all these tags you can change for whatever system you're running. These are just for demonstration, and of course we want to change it to conditional because we don't want this one to run unless this bottom one is run. Just make sure, yeah, okay. So before I get on to the next 3 commands, we need to make a couple of scoreboards. Well, I say a couple, I mean 3. So basically we need one for each coordinate. So we'll do /scoreboard objectives add, and let's say call them MotionX and make it a dummy, and then make MotionY and MotionZ. We're going to use those three scoreboards to save the values for the motion and the positions. So basically the next one, what it's going to do is it's going to run a command that retrieves the position of the armor stand and then saves it in the fireball score. So that might sound a bit weird, but let me show you. So I've just gone ahead and filled this one in, and I'll explain to you what it does. So obviously we're executing at the player, we're using our selector again, positioned 1.5 blocks above the feet, so at the head. And then we're running it as all entities within one block with the tag fireball. So remember how our fireball has the tag fireball. And then going from there, so executing as the fireball, positioned at 0, 0, 0. So now we're running the command. The player has nothing to do with this command anymore. So we're running as the fireball, but running the command at the position 0, 0, 0. And then we're going to store the result of the following command in the score of the fireball. So that's what the S is. And the scoreboard we're going to store it in is the MotionX scoreboard. And the result that we're going to store is the result of the command that comes after the word run. So it's data get entity at e tag aim limit 1. So that's basically selecting all of the entities with the tag aim with the limit to only select one entity. So obviously we don't need to make the selector more complicated because there will only be one entity with the tag aim in the entire world at any given time. The limit 1 is only to make it so that the command actually works, because you can't do a data get command on more than one entity at the same time. So the data we want to get, of course, is the position, and because we're getting the information from a list, we have to specify which item on the list, and it's the item 0, because arrays start at 0. And this last number here is basically, it's the scale number. So what we're doing is we're multiplying the number by 1000. And the reason we're doing this is because scoreboards don't accept decimals. Obviously, when you look at the NBT data, it's stored with decimals. So we're multiplying it by 1000 so that it keeps the decimal places. We'll divide it by 1000 again later to turn them back into decimals. We obviously need to set it to conditional as well, just to make sure that it doesn't just spam. And then the next two commands are literally the same thing, but, so if I copy paste this one, what we need to change is, so instead of MotionX, it's MotionY, and we need to change the pos 0 to pos 1, and conditional, of course, and then the same thing for the third one, but here we're doing it MotionZ, and pos 2, and conditional. So what we've got so far is summoning the armor stand, summoning the fireball, saving the position data from the armor stand onto the fireball, and then what we need to do now is kill the armor stand. So we're obviously going to do execute. Oh, actually, we don't even need to do that. We can just do /kill at e tag equals aim, and that'll kill all of those. Again, there'll only be one, so it doesn't really matter. And change that to conditional. And then I'm just going to use this command block to reset the score for the trigger. There we go. So if I right click with the carrot on the stick now, you'll see it does summon the fireball, but it's not moving. If we put the scoreboard display to the sidebar for MotionX, you'll see it does have a value here. It does have a value, so that has also executed successfully. That all works. All we need to do now is, with these three command blocks here, we need to transfer the data from the scoreboard into the motion data for the fireball. The way we do this is basically by inverting those three long commands from earlier. So again, I'm just going to copy paste this. And as you can see, we're executing as the fireball here. And again, we're going to store the result on an entity. So this is storing it as NBT data of that entity, so on the fireball. and then we're selecting the path, so we're storing it in the motion tag as a double, so that's the type of data that it is. And then this is where the multiplier is again. So we're multiplying it by 0.001, which is basically like dividing by 1,000. And then we're storing the result of the command scoreboard players get at s MotionX. So what this command is doing is it's running this command, so it's getting the value of the score for the fireball on the scoreboard MotionX, and then it's storing it as its motion after dividing it by 1,000. I hope that makes sense. I'm not very good at explaining this, but I hope that kind of works. Right, so set it to always active, and then do the same thing for the next 3. Just changing motion 0, is it motion? Yeah, motion 0 to motion 1, and motion X to motion Y, and always active, and then for the last one, motion Z, and motion 2. Now, when we shoot the fireball, boom, it's moving. So there we have it. We have a fully functioning fireball gun, I guess. An important thing to remember with this method is that the 0, 0, 0 coordinates have to be force loaded. If those coordinates aren't loaded, then most of this, the armor stand won't spawn, so this first one just won't execute. The way to force load a chunk like that is just to do /force load and then add, and then you can just put 0, 0 in there, and that'll do it for you. It's probably best to load the 4 chunks around 0, 0, just to be sure. But yeah, there you go. You're shooting fireballs now.